Welcome viewers. The session of today presentation is differential and its troubleshooting. In any four-wheeler, differential system plays an important role. Why we are discussing it? Because it is very important for a car driver or for a technician to understand the usefulness of differential, functions of differential and basic problem which occurs with the differential and what happens when differential is defective, and a very important question which I will ask you after the session, that is it safe to drive the car when you already know that your differential is defective. Now, this is a simple sketch which I have taken from the text of National Institute of Open Schooling. Here you will see that there are two wheels, left hand side and right hand side. In the middle you will find the different or a assembly of gears which is known as differential. So, why we require differential? As you know that whether it is a front wheel drive, whether it is a rear wheel drive or four wheel drive. Normally in India we have a front wheel drive or rear wheel drive, but the vehicles of army are normally four wheel drive. So, in case of front wheel drive, the gearbox consisting of differential or differential integrated with gearbox is situated at the front, while in rear wheel drive it is at the rear. And when we have a four wheel drive, it will have to be at the front as well as at the rear. Now, these are the different parts of differential, just like differential side gear or sun gear, pinion gear or cross pin, axle shaft, ring gear, drive pinion, differential pinion and differential case or housing, in which all these components we are placed together. If you just see this figure, this is a typical figure of a differential, where you will find that if you just see in the middle, you will find left wheel and the right wheel, both are connected with the differential. You will find a ring gear, then you have a differential pinion, differential side gear, drive pinion and drive shaft. So, if you just see and visualize that what should be the function of a differential. We have a engine, we have a gears, we have a clutch, we have a combustion system, then why we need a differential? You just see, and when you are driving in a straight road, differential does not play any role. Your both wheels are running at a same speed, but if you are taking right turn, you must visualize this thing, that the inner wheel will have to take a shorter path as compared to the outer ring. Outer wheel has to travel more distance as compared to inner wheel. Now, how it will be possible? It will be possible only when the inside or the inner wheel has less speed as compared to the outer wheel. This is possible only with the help of a differential. When it drives in a straight road, the ring drive only works, but when it turns right or left, the drive pinion with the help of drive shaft start working, which makes the function of a differential. That means, the differential helps to lower down the inner wheel and accelerate or speed up the outer wheel, so that both will cover the distances with the same time. Now, here we will discuss what are the functions of a differential. It works for the both the pair of wheel, or in case of four-wheeler for all wheel. It allows them to rotate at different speed. In another word, the power of the engine through differential gets distributed differently to different wheels, so that inner wheel and outer wheel rotate at different speed. Why it is necessary? As I told you, that when you are driving and your car is turning right or left, so your outer wheel needs to cover a longer distance as compared to inner wheel. Now, what are the problems which normally comes when your differential gets faulty? You hear a clunking sound, a very different sound you will hear, which you can differentiate with the sound of a shock absorber or bearing. That is why we are working in National Institute of Open Schooling, so that you can able to differentiate, because some technician, because of their less experience or less skill, they make or they identify clunking sound as the sound from the bearing or some bearing, and they replace, but the sound again remains coming and the customer remains disturbed. The vehicle gets vibrated when it goes, the speed is high, the vibration starts, it will just vibrate the car. You will hear a whirring sound when you slow down. And one of the most important identification is the stain, reddish stain. If you park your vehicle and when you move it or vehicle, you will find there is a reddish stain on the road. Be cautious, don't take any excuse and get it repaired as soon as possible. Now, why are we get, or why our differential gets faulty or defective. The most important point which you should know, that always use right or the correct lubricant. Sometimes just for the sake of cost saving, we try to use a cheaper lubricant, and always remember, always see a lubricant with your fingers. It should give you a film between your two fingers. Another important reason is water. Here you find in the rainy season, every road is clogged or with the water. Always try to avoid driving, or if you are compelled to drive, try to drive and in that portion of the road which will not take water to your differential part, because if water comes, it will create a problem, because having so many leakage proof, the water goes into the differential and the real problem starts. And this happens when you drive in a high water, and that is why we always say, even when you are driving, drive slow. In case of water, don't rush. Always try to drive as slow as possible, so that if water comes, it goes down below the differential. Now, what happens when differential fails? As a technician, you must understand, when your rear differential, because I told you that in most of the cars in India are rear wheel drive. So, if it is start wear, you will notice a loss of precision while making a turn. There is a slippage. You want to move, you want to take a right turn or left turn, but it is not so precise. You have to take a reverse gear and to have come back and then again take a turn. It is not so precise. So, whenever you are noticing these things, that means your differential is at the verge of getting failed. Another important thing is that tire damage. When you turn left or right, the main function of a differential is to distribute the speed between inner wheel and the outer wheel. What happens with the faulty differential? Your either inner wheel or outer wheel slips, and that makes a premature wear either on the inner tire or at the outer tire or worst. Sometimes what happens, that outside of the tire gets wear and you notice, and that makes the problem of balancing or the alignment of the wheel. Now, what you would do? When you should be cautious as a technician or as a customer. If you are hearing a constant noise in the differential, I know that it is very difficult to identify or differentiate between the different sounds, but if you hear or listen the sound carefully, you will find and you will definitely you can identify that this noise is coming from the differential. Sometimes what happens, the noise will come and will disappear and will come again, and noise will only come when you are turning left or right. Another important point is that your lubricating is leaking. The interpretation of this is that If you are receiving a noise from the differential, try to repair it. If you have a noise or slip, you should be cautious. If your lubricant is leaking, try, because if lubricants gets leaked, there will be difficulty, there will be more wear and tear in the gears inside your differential. Even if drive wheel is do not turn, but universal joint, the joint which is transmitting the power from the propeller shaft to the axle, before that you have a universal joint, and sometimes what happen, it gets turned, but your wheels are not turning. So, be cautious at that time. Now, there are certain causes. The first cause is that you are receiving and you are noticing a constant sound. The first point you should check the level of lubricant in the differential. If a technician has made his kindness or her kindness and put lot of lubricant, then also the noise will come. If it is low due to some leakage, the noise will come and you should replace or top up lubricant. Wrong type of lubricant is used, so try to replace it. One can check by opening the lubricant or whatever leakage you will find, one can find that whether it is a right type of lubricant is used or not. Another important thing is the reason is that ball bearing gets damaged. So, it can be either adjusted or it can be replaced. Similarly, sometimes what happen due to shocks, due to jerk, ring gear and the pinion do not have the proper or correct tooth contact. That will not make only the noise, but that will be one of the reason for the wear and tear of the gear and the pinion. Sometimes what happen, your ring gear and the pinion gets damaged. There may be several reasons. One of the reason may be improper contact. When there is a too much backlash between the pinion or too little backlash between the pinion and the gear, that is also cause for the constant noise. When your pinion bearing or side bearing are loose or worn out, then there is a chance of noise which you notice. Another possible cause for the noise which is coming at the different intervals, it is not the constant noise, but it comes because what happens, your four-wheeler is many moving part. So, it is very difficult to notice the sound. So, first thing is that in case of faulty differential, you will get a constant noise. Another point is that you will receive or you will notice the sound at different interval. So, in that you have to see the ring gear, sometimes it gets loosed. So, tight it and you will find that your problem is rectified. Sometimes your differential wheel gets loosed, so just tight it, or it is broken, then please replace it. While making a turn, if your differential is making noise, that means either the pinion gears are too tight or too loose. In both cases, it is harmful for the differential. We have several washers, they also get damaged. So, we have to replace them Another important thing is that when we get the lubricant which is leaking, you have to find out what is the reason for the leakage of the lubricant. It may be because there is a more lubricant is there, that is why it is getting leaked from where it gets the space. Even if the wrong type of lubricant is used, then also it may be one of the reason for the leakage. There is a restriction of axle housing breather. You have a axle housing shaft. If there is a movement is restricted, then the lubrication gets leaked, or if oil seal in a axle sheet gets damaged or worn out, then there is a chances of leakage. Another cause of lubricant leaking is that you have a universal joint that may be get damaged, or restriction or oil seal, all you have to check. Now, another important thing which you have noticed is that instead of wheel turnings and the turning place, your universal joint is turning. So, why it is so? Either your axle shaft is broken, or your ring gear teeth are damaged, or the side gears are broken, or differential pinion or shaft or the retainer pin is broken. So, you please check the reason, check the cause and work on that, so that your customer gets satisfied. Another point which I want to raise, is it safe to drive a car with a bad differential? I will say no, because it will lead a security problem, safety problem to the rider. Sometimes during taking turn, when the vehicle do not turn at a right position, there are chances of accident. So, please do not take any risk. If you are noticing the car with a faulty differential, please repair it. Now, can a car differential can be repaired? Of course, it can be repaired. The repair include just like bearing, if bearing is broken or bearing is faulty, it can be repaired. If seal is broken, because that causes the leakage of the lubricant, then what happens? Your differential will not work properly after certain point. Another thing is that fluid change or lubricant change, because differential is a complete set of gears which should not be disturbed unless and until, or in other words I can say, it should not be opened by a unskilled worker. And if we are bound or it is compulsory to open, then also the person should be skilled. He or she should have a proper training for repairing of a differential. Differential repairing should not be done by a unskilled worker, because it contains a very complex or complicated gear assembly. Any fault which remains there will lead to another problem. So, it is advisable for every learner, so that as a technician you should be able to satisfy the customer, or as a customer you should be able to enjoy the safe riding. So, in today's session, what we have covered, that is a differential. Differential is a system of gears, because when the power is coming from engine to clutch to propeller shaft through universal joint to your both wheels, and if you are moving in a straight direction, then the both wheels are moving in a same speed. But when the wheel or when the car is taking left turn, what will happen? Your outer wheel is moving in a larger diameter or circumference, while inner wheel is moving in a smaller circumference. So, since both has to start turning and finish turning at the same time, so what is required is that both should take the same time, so that the time distance by velocity or speed for both cases should be equal. Remember that when your differential is faulty, there is a difference in the time by both the wheel. So, what will happen, or what is going to happen, there is a chances of slipping of wheels, and then the tire will be damaged. Your safety will be at stake. There will be chances of accident. So, when you notice certain indicators, I will say, just like if you find the reddish stain in the parking, or you receive a noise in the differential, or you find slipping while turning, don't take any risk. Try to replace or repair the differential. Thank you.